Hello and welcome to UTI Swatantra. This is that time of the year. It's raining, there's monsoons, there is some sense of unpredictability, uncertainty. You don't know when it's going to rain, when it's going to pour, and when it pours, are you really ready for it? And as some of us have been caught out in the last few days, particularly in cities like Mumbai, where it's been really pouring. Of course, it's not been for the last couple of days, but there is no guarantee that it's not going to be the same for the next few days. Let's see if we can use that analogy for the world of finance and investing and saving. And what are the lessons that we can learn in an era and a world of uncertainty, and how do we prepare for it, like we prepare in some ways for the rains which we keep looking out for days if not weeks, and actually getting everything which is including a house in order. So I'm joined by two very interesting financial experts who will help us walk through this scenario, that is facing uncertainty and preparing for it, and more importantly, how do you use this time and space that you have today to prepare for a situation or an event that may happen much later, for which you're not prepared, and for which you're not prepared, you're not ready, and might affect you far more adversely than you can perhaps imagine. I'm joined by Paras Gangwal, CEO of MS Soba Infosec. Infosec, as he tells me, is information security. And Samit Chaudhary, proprietor of Samsung Financial Consultants. Thank you both for joining us. Okay, Samit, let me begin with you first. So when you think of uncertainty, and you told me that you have more than 1,000 clients that you work with, what does uncertainty mean? I mean, how is it being manifested in your own interactions with your clients and their lives?
So let me begin with my grandmother. Okay, all our grandmothers have been talking about the rainy days or the uncertain times, and the rainy day is when it's pours and people doesn't have used to stock the food. Okay. Similarly, in the financial world, we say the 7 events of financial world, and out of that, the 4 events what we always focus first or give the priorities are the events which are not in our control. Okay, we need to get in our control in some ways, basically. And if you ask me these 4 events, the first event is the loss of job or loss of income due to the accident. Okay. The loss of income can be due to also prolonged medications, okay, hospitalization, okay, or the loss of income. The fourth one is due to loss of life, and your beneficiaries on who are dependent upon you needs to take care about for their monetary needs, which right now you are taking care of, basically. So these 4 uncertainties has to be taken care of, and the most recent.
And what are the 3 certainties?
3 certainties which can be controlled. Okay,
I'm assuming
would
education,
be
marriage.
Yes. It's basically the first is the retirement. Okay, because early, as you always say, start early for your retirement. Okay, and then is your children's education and their marriages, and the last one is your aspirational goals. But if you see, most of the thing is always opposite. People start aspirational goals, then their children's education becomes a priority, then probably they might start with a retirement.
Right. Okay, right. I think an important point that you made, Samit, is that there are more events that are not in your control than there are. And we prepare for maybe 3 sets of events, but there are 4 sets of events which can actually throw everything out of gear. Okay. Paras, what's your sense when you think of uncertainty and finance and your own understanding from your clients, the people that you've dealt with?
As Samit told, uncertainty is mainly due to loss of job. In that period, you don't have any income, and that can kill your savings. So to manage that savings, you don't want to kill that savings. You need to be prepared for that. That is the uncertainty which we face. Again, apart from loss of job or prolonged
illness,
medical issues. I just met a couple of days back to chartered accountant. He said he was sick for 3 months, and there he said it eaten my 3 months salary, because I could not get my 3 months salary during that period, and that I am suffering because my EMIs are there, my other things are there, which suffer because of this thing. So these are the main uncertainties, we have to plan for it. And
let me ask you that question a little differently, to both of you. First you. So in most people's lives, and when you look at all the people that you work with, how often do they face uncertainty? And I know we assume that our lives are going to be smooth sailing all the time, but it's not. And how often do they face uncertainty, and how often are they not prepared for it?
See, most
Suppose
of the
you had a sample set of 100.
Yeah, so out of 100 people, we find 20-30% people face this kind of uncertainties.
Which is debilitating, and it's something that can overturn your life.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So maybe anything can happen. So these are the people we suffer. They kill their savings. They are not prepared for that uncertainties
At all. Okay. What about you? How would you put it, Samir?
So let me put an a very recent event what happened unfortunately to a family, okay, whom I know very closely. Okay, they were it was just a last Diwali vacation. They were traveling together for a vacation. Okay, and in the car they met with an accident. Just imagine the family of 4, husband, wife, daughter and a child, son. They met with this accident, and unfortunately the wife, okay, had to be was in a coma for almost 6 months, okay, in an hospital in a coma situation. Just imagine both the husband is in such a financial stress, beg, borrow, steal, everything happening, and to take care of this, because unfortunately he was not insured. So accidental policies are the one which can take care of this, would have taken care of his uncertain event of like such as this, where an entire family is met with an accident. Similarly, we also come across nowadays they're saying there are a lot of many youngsters who are freelancers, okay, they are working for a while and then they get an assignment and they do it. So the most frequently what we see is they are with some money at a given point of time when the assignment comes, but unfortunately there is spent and then they don't have any assignment and they are into completely a mess. So these are the times when this uncertainties can be taken care of, okay, and can be rightly
So Paras
addressed.
gave a number. So he said that roughly 20 to 30% of cases are likely to face something untoward and drastic.
Right.
Would you say the number is the same?
I would give a higher side, because
Okay.
as we have been seeing for the last 18 years to 20 years, and we meet a lot of clients, youngsters, as well as
older
senior
people,
people, older people, unprepared. I would say very much unprepared. Financial mistakes happens. They always, the trend is long term, but unfortunately the short term is also more dreaded. We have to be prepared for the short term also. And always we say before taking the step of the long term, the first step is to do as a short term, and you need to address this. And the figure, as you would like to, I will say more than a 75% would be not ready actually adequately. Okay, a policy is taken or something or is done, but not actually.
You're saying also 75% of your sample set are people who face or encounter something that they are not ready for.
Yes, absolutely. I will say
which could be life changing.
Yes, absolutely. You just step out of this studio and you can see ask any person what is your contingency corpus. He will like kind of, or what is your medical policy cover. He will like, I pay a premium of X amount, but he doesn't know the sum assured. What is your term insurance cover? He will say, I pay something roughly around 20,000, but he will never able to say what is the sum assured. This is a problem. When you are taking a cover for yourself, you need to know the sum assured, okay, not the premium amount, because of this is something what is really concerning me.
Okay, right. The question to you, Paras, is this cyclical? I mean, do we I know it's a more social question than a financial question. Do we in life face these problems at certain times of our work and social existence, or do they come sequentially, or is there any pattern to it at all? I'm just trying to understand. So someone who's watching can say, okay, if I am at this stage in life, I should be more prepared because it's likely that I'm going to hit some problem.
So cyclical in the sense, in the technology changing,
So from a job perspective.
Yeah, from a job perspective, it can be a cyclical. If you are in that technology side, if you are not prepared for the technology, you may lose out the job. You will have to prepare for the new technology, upcoming technology. You are not upgrading yourself, then that can create uncertainty.
And you have seen such examples?
We have seen such examples. We have clients in the technology side who have lost their jobs as well. Because things are changing drastically. If you are not preparing yourself in good times, then you may face a bad time.
Right. Okay.
These are the things.
Right. Okay. So this is an uncertain world, as we've now established. The chances of your being affected by this uncertainty is very high. Could be 70% or 30%, depending on where you are and in life and otherwise. So how do you now prepare for this financially?
So first, let us address the first event. What I was talking, a loss of income or a loss of job. Okay, I would always recommend a client to at least for in his saving accounts, which is the first primary thing, where the income comes. 1 month's expense should be there in a saving account. The rest of the money, whatever surplus funds which he has to, can be going into something like a liquid funds. Okay, liquid funds are an appropriate category which is gives you higher liquidity. It also is much important as inflationally beats the inflation. Okay, in terms of return, and it is available to you when you want it. Okay, so any uncertainty, you still have that money available to you and growing, at least growing. So you back of the mind, you at least be prepared for next 4 to 6 months expenses or a income of yours into a liquid funds, which will be an first steps towards giving that financial.
Okay, so quick current affairs question: the reporting on funds, mutual funds, particularly debt and liquid funds, has not been very positive, right? Yeah. So is that an issue that people should be concerned about today?
I would not really take it as an issue. Yes, there has been a concern on the debt or the longer duration or the credit risk funds, but the liquid funds are the most lowest duration fund and the most lowest risk funds, basically comparative. The regulators have given certain.
Okay, we'll come back to that in a moment. Paras, what your sense about, in a time of uncertainty, what are the things that, or if you want to prepare for times of uncertainty, how should you be investing?
We should be prepared for uncertainties by saving in for as he said, 3 to 6 month expenditure or a income. You should be saved in either on a liquid fund or in a savings fund or overnight fund now, which people are saying is the safest fund than the liquid fund now. The new category which is emerged.
Overnight,
so, yeah, overnight funds. There also you can park your money, which is like, they are lending money for only 2 days. So the risk is not there at all in that, you can say. So the risk can be managed in that way, and this uncertainty can be managed through parking your funds for next 3 to 6 month period. As he said, 4, 5 months or 6 months, that figure can be changed from the person to person.
This is for really to take care of something that might just happen.
Yeah, immediately.
Literally, immediately. And how do we plan for something little more medium to long term, if we can?
So medium to long term can be planned through goal planning, or you can say investment planning or a financial planning. So example, medium to long term, if you have a uncertainty of your job, or you can say your goals can be uncertain. You are planning for your retirement, you are planning for your education. So education, these are uncertain events. Fees can go high anytime. So even that can be managed through investments. You can plan for that in the investment side by investing in the mutual funds.
Right.
Basically.
But how many categories of investment can people make? When suppose I have 100 rupees, I mean, is it sort of, can I say I put 30 rupees aside for my uncertainty, 30 rupees for education, 20 rupees for retirement, or how does it work?
Yeah,
because I usually will only go for 1 or 2 categories.
Yeah, absolutely. But before selecting the category, it is very important to select a SMART goal. Okay, what is a SMART? It is a sensible, measurable, achievable, reasonable, and time bound. When you identify a goal, let it be a SMART goal. Okay, in that proportion, what is a time bound. You have the first important is should be sensible. If I need, what is a goal actually about, basically. So it is measurable in terms of figure. Okay, if I want to create let's take an example for a youngster. Basically, he wants to plan a vacation. He is a very adventurous guy and he wants to plan a vacation. He wants to trek to Leh Ladakh on bike. It's roughly costing me around 2 lakhs rupees. Let's take for example. And he that is measurable. He knows he wants to go to Leh Ladakh. How much is achievable? It is reasonable enough for his income, and it is time bound. In the next 1.5 years, he wants to do this. Okay. Today, if he starts putting 10,000 or 15,000 rupees in a liquid fund, okay, which can create a corpus easily for him in the next 18 months, he is ready with his goal. He can go around and do his trekking and to Leh Ladakh. So it has to be specified. So rightly now the thing comes ki what are the other goals? We can map it for our investments. So a retirement, take a retirement. Now you work for at least 20 from your working span of 25 years to 55. Okay, you have a clear 30 years of working span. Now you have to pay a tax every time whenever you are earning something. Okay, so you can map these goals and the investments with your retirement plan. Take a ELSS fund, equity linked savings fund.
Yeah.
So that can be mapped towards your retirement. You save a tax, you create a wealth, and these are the funds which can create wealth in a long term. And these retirement is a long term goal. Similarly, if you are married and have a family, you have children, okay, I always recommend my client the day the child is born, start a SIP for that. Okay, it can be any good equity diversified.
In the child's name or in
it's a tradition nowadays. You know, it has been our tradition कि कुछ तो लेना चाहिए child. See, it is ultimately a parent who is going to contribute. Why give a name? It can be a child's plan, whatever plan. मेरा बच्चों का plan, मेरा छोकरे का plan, कुछ भी plan. But assign it to that investment something, and allow it to get accumulated. So that only can create a wealth, and when he wants, it can be used.
Right. Okay. So we've got questions coming in as well. The first question is from Amit Sharma. He asked, "Why is inflation a financial uncertainty?"
Inflation, yes, inflation eats out our savings. You know, if we are earning, people say, you know, fixed deposits are very good investments. On a fixed deposit, say, let's say you get a return of 6%, and inflation is 5%. So net of inflation you are getting 1%, but you pay a tax on it also. So inflation eats out your major corpus of your money. So that is a big uncertainty, and inflation can't be controlled because it is not in our hands. So it's a big uncertainty for us.
It's almost like the eighth element of uncertainty.
Absolutely, eighth element.
Okay, so here's another question. Unless you wanted to add to that, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to add ki, like Amit, if you ask your parents, or we know roughly around our parents used to spend, if it is a family of a 4, their cost of living at that 20 years back was somewhere close to 20,000 rupees, average middle class family. Today it is, if I take 20 years down the line, today we are average spending a middle class family is 40 to 50,000 rupees. There's a growth of almost 100%. Okay, and if I take it next 20 years down the line, this, if it takes another 5 times, means it is almost going to be 2,50,000. This is something which is, we need to be prepared, and inflation is the most dangerous risk. I will say nothing, no other risk is as dangerous than inflation.
Okay. And also it goes back to the point you were making earlier, that the reason you would need to put your money in liquid funds as opposed to bank savings bank is savings account is because of you want to beat inflation and do better. Okay, quick next question. Monica Chadda asked, I already have an emergency corpus, do I still need insurance?
Yes, absolutely, Monica. You would require insurance. Insurance is like an umbrella, okay, on a rainy day. You need an umbrella. Yes, absolutely. Emergency, as I told you, the first event is to cover the loss of income. But protection of your savings is what insurance is all about. When you take an health insurance, say about, unfortunately, the family of 4, okay, a very bad year, and we have always seen post monsoons, instead of monsoon, dengue is a killer, you know, and the average expenses, what if you see around, it goes to as high as 10 lakhs of rupees also.
Yeah, because there's hospitalization.
Dengue, your pallets count, everything has taken care, and I have seen that also. I have taken a claim, I have reimbursed a claim of almost close to 15 lakhs in a dengue case, you know, and I can show you that bills also. In that case, assuming you are having an emergency corpus, okay, you had roughly around 10 lakhs of rupees emergency. You spend entirely that 10 lakhs and you didn't have a health insurance. You have to completely spend this emergency corpus on that treatment of dengue, and you are not left with any other savings. So these are the things where insurance comes into picture, and that takes care of your uncertainty.
Right. So an add-on question to that, KK Mahapatra asks, do we need to review our emergency corpus from time to time?
Yes, absolutely. Your standard of living, your lifestyle always would change with the incremental income. Your lifestyle changes, and accordingly your expenses needs to be again reviewed. So financial planning is not a one-time thing. It is more of a regular reviews on your income and expenses and your goals.
Okay. So perhaps investing in mutual funds now is considered good over a long period of time, but if for someone who is maybe making the first step today or taking the first step today, what would you say? Because this is clearly a more uncertain time, right? The markets have been going up and down. We don't know. The economy is obviously in difficult times. if I invest today, is all my money going to go down? When will I recover? Those are the questions that people would ask.
So, first timers can start with liquid funds, as we are discussing, liquid funds. So, liquid funds are the safest fund we feel. They can start with liquid funds, and as they grow, they understand the better mutual funds. They can move into from liquid fund to gradually to hybrid to equity funds. Because ultimately, if you want to grow your money, you'll have to choose the equity funds also. So, from first timers, you can from liquid funds to the equity fund can be the cycle, basically, you can say.
Right. So, and you're saying that don't worry about how the markets are behaving right now or the economic uncertainty?
Yes, of course. Means, agreed. You don't bring all your money today and put in equity fund, because then that can be a very risky thing. So you understand that according to your risk adjustment, risk capacity, you need to discuss it with your financial advisor and plan accordingly how much money I need at what time.
Yeah.
Plan your goals and accordingly invest in the equity funds or maybe a debt fund or a liquid funds, whatever.
Okay. Back to emergency corpus. A lot of questions are there. SK Singla asked, if we reach our emergency corpus limit, should we stop investing in liquid funds?
Yes, absolutely. As I told you, once you review regularly, once you have reached the corpus, you need not add into this corpus further. Okay, because it is going to unnecessarily increase your basic liquidity. Now, there is difference between basic liquidity and expanded liquidity. Okay, basic liquidity is the amount what you actually require immediate liquidity. Okay, that, as I told you, can be into some 1 month saving account. Okay, and the rest of the into a liquid or a FDs, basically. But if you would like to expanded liquidity is towards your financial assets, which gives you expanded in case of some other uncertainties, prolonged uncertainties where you have to liquidate entirely. So it's very much after when you complete your allocations, the amount you can stop in a liquid fund. You need not allocate into that. I will take this one more thing what I have been practicing. A lot of people has a yearly commitment, yearly commitment in terms of premiums paying membership fees or their children's fees also, which comes in a quarterly manner, quarterly or a yearly manner, which is a very expensive. Nowadays, a fees in a good international school or a good school is not, it goes into lakhs. So for a parent who is a working parent, especially for a working parent, it becomes very difficult. They have a limited income, and in that income, a 1 month comes with all together, and especially that month is in the month of March, because all your investments or your tax investments are happen in the month of March. So what we do is basically we total up this total commitments and divide it by 12. That can be your liquid fund SIP. And as and when that expenses come, withdraw from that, and it can be more useful. It's a very good way you can accumulate and do your savings and investments.
Right. And Paras, how would you, what is the kind of size that one should think of when it comes to an emergency corpus?
It depends on the person to person again, obviously.
So like
size cannot be defined. So as I said, 3 to 6 months. 3 to 6 months. 6 months is a period when one should look at, depending on the uncertainty. If he is in the more riskier business or a riskier cycle job, he should have more emergency corpus.
Okay, right. So let me take 2 more questions. How many portfolios should one have? So I'm assuming how many categories of whatever, which is similar to the question I asked you earlier. And a related question is, how can one diversify their portfolio? KM Jain and Sunil Kumar. Do you want to start first?
Yeah. So first of all, mutual fund is a diversified asset class. Okay, you get equity portfolios, schemes various from large caps to multi caps to small and mid caps. Lot of categories are there in a equity category, equity assets. And then there are debt funds also, where you have liquid funds to the credit, short duration funds to credit risk funds to government security funds. So you have a good diversification already in a mutual fund schemes. And these funds basically invest into various different shares, or if it is the equity, they invest across various shares. So you already have a good diversification. So when it comes to your personal portfolio, it should not be much more than 5 schemes basically, and dedicate that 5 schemes towards the specific goals. Like if you have a liquid fund, it can be one for your emergency. You have a ELSS fund for your tax saving. You can have a good multi-cap fund or a mid-cap fund for your children's education and marriage. So this takes care of.
How many does that mean?
That comes to around 5. I don't extend more than 5 to 6 schemes.
Okay.
It should be category wise.
Right.
and going into multiple aims schemes doesn't make I don't usually
So 5 schemes and 5 goals.
Similarly, you should have 5 schemes. I do not buy that thought ki only 5 schemes is there. It depends on how. In equity funds also you can have a 2 or 3 funds. Not necessarily you park everything in that, because if you plan for your goal for that particular fund, or say for education, and you parked only in a one fund, if that goes bad, it affects your whole goal. So you should have at least 1 or 2 or 3 funds in your particular goal, and you can have multiple goals and multiple funds for the goals basically. So 4-5 funds is okay, I think, according to me.
Right. So we started by talking about rains and monsoons. So and as you look back, I mean, do you see any similarities between the way we prepare for monsoons, and we also get affected by monsoons, including a lot of calamities, and our lives?
Yes, of course. As monsoons are also uncertain. In Mumbai, everybody says monsoons are unpredictable. Similarly, your portfolios or equity market becomes uncertain sometimes, and they become uncertain, and suddenly some political risk or market risk, or you call international risk, or crude price growing up and down, it can affect the portfolios. So those are the uncertainties attached to your portfolios according to the
right. And I guess one moral is that however much you might be prepared for it, you will still be hit by something that effectively you're not prepared for.
Example, people were prepared for ki Brexit will happen or not happen, or crude price will go up or not go up. So these are uncertainties. You never know what will happen to this.
Right. Okay.
So I would like to take this further. Looking at uncertainties are towards for a shorter period. Okay, there are I consider uncertainties in terms of investments are opportunities also. If I become a little optimistic, I can see this as an opportunity.
Right.
So a lot of times investor gets panicked in certain uncertainties. Okay, but when I say if I've addressed, I'm like going back on my 4 events, if I address these 4 events, I can easily then manage these uncertainties of long-term goals. Okay, uncertainties can be taken care of by when you are invested in an equity. Yes, there are always a risk of volatilities in equities, and that is the part and parcel of equity as an asset class. But it has also proven that it is an asset class which are always beaten the inflation in a longer period. You see a double-digit returns in any of the 10 years period. The probability of negative returns reduces in a 10 years plus period.
Right.
So equity is an asset class for long-term goals only. Okay, it is not an asset class. If you are getting it for a 1 year or a 5 years period also, it is not a long term. For me, my definition of long term is 10 years plus.
Okay, great. So last question to both of you. Let me start with you, Paras. Do you think we live in more uncertain times than before? So you said you started almost 20 years ago, your business. So do you feel that today we live in more uncertain times? That's one. And the second is, what is the moral of the story?
Yes, we are more in the uncertain times. As we move to the growing economy, from growing to grown economy, we are in uncertain times again. Technologies is changing, things are moving not in right directions, people are losing out jobs. So we are in that uncertain times. In this uncertain times, we need to have a financial plans and goals planned properly. Then it will help us in long term.
Okay.
Yes.
Amit?
So yes, times are changing. Okay, 20 years back or 40 years back, whatever, that time there were also risks. Okay, it's not like there were no risk in that time of time. There was some other risk that now it will be something changing risk. Okay, every time the risk changes. Okay,
but are we living in more uncertain times today? It's a subjective question.
Yeah, it's a subjective question. Yes, if you are not prepared, definitely. Okay. As I told you, the figure is if you are not prepared, then you are in a very bad position. So you should be prepared for a rainy day. Okay, and always keep yourself the liquidity, as I said, through the emergency corpus and all. And then you can really sail it well. If you have planned this, and as the technology or whatever, say the smart phones are there, you get a lot of to read. But when I say information needs to be filtered and made to knowledge, Okay, so a lot of information you will get, but is that information really relevant, and is it needs to be really meant for you or not, is what you need to filter. So as I said, if you can just Google it and you can see lot many things happening, like you had just put a point key debt funds, but if you need to see it in a right perspective, there is an opportunity today in everything. So I am a very optimistic person. I will see markets from here in a good way, provided they are meant for long term, and accordingly I will take a call. But uncertain times will be there. You need to take a help of an financial advisor. Okay, he is a person who can hold your hands throughout your journey and make your journey very good. So getting financial planning, according to my definition, is getting the right amount of money at the right point of time whenever you need it.
Right. Right. Okay. We've run out of time. Thank you so much. That was very useful. Thank you, Paras and Samit. We've, as I said, run out of time completely. There are some lots of lessons to take away. We talked about the monsoons currently bearing down on, at least in Mumbai where we are sitting. And like the monsoons which we prepare for in every possible way, we still get affected by events and outcomes that we are not prepared for. And that's really the story of life. That's the story of our finances, our investments. And this is really the moral of the story. So you have to be prepared. You have to plan. There is uncertainty and there is certainty. You should be looking out for both. And that's the note that we'll end on today. We're going to be back on the 1st of August at 5 p.m. with another UTI Swatantra episode. We're going to be talking about best friends forever, financial problems, whatever. Thanks for watching.